This is the shocking story of a maid's fight for freedom and the Hollywood star who risks it all to save her. Stay tuned to see how this intense battle unfolds. Welcome my YouTube channel Storytime. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget like, subscribe and share. In the heart of a bustling city in Dubai, a grand mansion stood as a symbol of wealth and power. Behind its luxurious walls, however, lay a story of anguish and suffering. Hina, a young housemaid from a remote village in India, worked tirelessly to please her employer, Mr. Malik, a wealthy businessman with a cold heart. Hina. Mr. Malik's booming voice echoed through the hall. Where's my coffee? Do you plan to make me wait all day? Hina rushed into the living room, her hands trembling as she carried a tray. It's here, sir, she whispered, placing the cup carefully on the table. Too slow, he muttered, barely glancing at her. Hina's life was a daily struggle. She had come to Dubai with dreams of earning a better living for her family, but those dreams had turned into nightmares. Malik's temper and constant berating left her with bruises, some visible, others hidden deep within. That evening, Malik hosted an exclusive party for influential guests. Among them was an unexpected figure, Keanu Reeves, visiting Dubai for a charity event. His reputation as a kind and humble person preceded him, and his presence brought a buzz of excitement to the gathering. As Hina moved around, serving drinks and avoiding Malik's sharp gaze, her path crossed with Keanu's. For a brief moment, their eyes met. Hina quickly looked away, fear flashing across her face. Keanu, observant and intuitive, didn't miss the pain in her expression or the faint bruise on her wrist. His curiosity was piqued. Later that evening, as the party went on, Keanu found Hina in the kitchen, hurriedly cleaning dishes. He approached her gently, his voice low so as not to startle her. "Hi," he said, offering a small smile. Hina froze, unsure of how to respond. "Hello, sir," she managed, not daring to meet his eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked, his tone filled with genuine concern. Hina hesitated, glancing nervously toward the door. "Yes, sir. Please don't ask me anything. I'll get in trouble." Before Keanu could say more, Malik's voice rang out. "Reeves. There you are. What are you doing here?" Keanu turned calmly, his smile polite. "Just getting a glass of water. I didn't want to bother the staff." Malik laughed, clapping him on the back. "You're too kind, my friend. Come, let's talk about the business proposal." Keanu followed, but his thoughts lingered on Hina. That night, as Keanu sat in his hotel room overlooking the shimmering skyline of Dubai, Hina's haunted expression stayed with him. He couldn't ignore the feeling that something was deeply wrong. The next day, under the guise of wanting to learn more about Dubai's culture, Keanu returned to Malik's mansion. Malik, eager to impress him further, welcomed him warmly. As Malik showed off his lavish home, Keanu discreetly observed Hina. She was cleaning the marble floors, her movements mechanical and tired. Malik barked orders at her, and she flinched at his tone. Keanu turned to Malik, his voice calm but pointed. "You seem to run a tight ship here. Do you always treat your staff like this?" Malik frowned, caught off guard. "Staff are meant to work. That's their job." Keanu nodded slightly, though his expression hardened. Interesting perspective. Later, while Malik was distracted with a phone call, Keanu approached Hina again. This time, he spoke with more urgency. "You don't have to stay in this situation. There are ways to get help." Hina shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "You don't understand, sir. I can't leave. If I do, my family back home will suffer. I owe him too much money." Keanu's jaw tightened. "No one deserves to live like this. Trust me, I can help." Before Hina could respond, Malik's voice echoed from the other room. "Hina. Where are you?" She hurried away, leaving Keanu with a growing determination. As the sun set over the desert horizon, Keanu made a call to his team. I need someone to look into Malik's household staff. Discreetly. And quickly. Keanu knew he was stepping into a dangerous game, but he couldn't stand by and watch Hina suffer. Keanu Reeves paced in his hotel room, his mind racing with thoughts about Hina. Her fear-filled eyes and trembling hands haunted him. He had encountered suffering before, but something about her plight struck a deeper chord. He couldn't leave Dubai without trying to make a difference. The next morning, Keanu's private investigator called with an update. Mr. Reeves, we found some disturbing details about Malik. He's been exploiting his staff, especially Hina. Her passport and documents are in his possession, and he's forcing her to work under impossible conditions. She owes him a large sum of money, most of it fabricated. Keanu's expression hardened. What about legal options? The laws here are tricky, especially when it comes to domestic workers. Malik has connections that could complicate things. We'll need undeniable evidence and a solid plan to get her out. Keanu exhaled, his resolve strengthening. Let's do whatever it takes. Back at Malik's mansion, Hina moved through her tasks mechanically. Her body ached, but it was nothing compared to the fear she carried in her heart. Malik had become more unpredictable since Keanu's visit, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing. That evening, Malik called Hina into his study. She entered, keeping her eyes downcast. Do you know why I called you here? Malik asked, his tone icy. No, sir, she replied softly, her heart pounding. He leaned back in his chair, studying her. That actor, Keanu Reeves, seems too interested in my household. If I find out you've been talking to him about anything personal, you'll regret it. Hina's blood ran cold. I haven't said anything, sir. I promise. Good. Malik's voice was sharp. Now get out. Hina hurried back to the servants' quarters, tears threatening to spill. She clutched her son's photo tightly, praying for strength. Meanwhile, Keanu devised a plan to gain Hina's trust and gather more evidence. Under the pretext of wanting to learn about local charity initiatives, he arranged another visit to Malik's mansion. Malik, eager to keep his influential guest happy, obliged. When Keanu arrived, he made sure to bring gifts for the staff, something Malik dismissed as unnecessary. As the workers cautiously accepted the tokens of appreciation, Keanu subtly slipped a note to Hina. Asterisk, you don't deserve this life. If you're ready to leave, meet me at the garden fountain tonight after 10. Trust me, I'll help you. Asterisk. Hina read the note in secret, her hands trembling. Could she trust him? She had been betrayed before, and Malik's threats echoed in her mind. But there was something about Keanu's sincerity that gave her hope. That night, Hina waited until the house was quiet. Her heart pounded as she made her way to the garden, clutching the note tightly. She reached the fountain and froze, unsure if she was making a mistake. Keanu appeared from the shadows, his expression calm but determined. Thank you for coming, he said softly. Why are you doing this? She whispered, her voice trembling. Because no one deserves to live in fear, Keanu replied. I know what Malik has been doing to you, and I want to help you get out of here. But I need your trust. Tears welled up in Hina's eyes. If he finds out, he'll hurt me. And my family back home. I can't risk it. Keanu nodded, understanding her hesitation. I've already started working on a plan. My team is looking into legal options, and I'll make sure your family is safe. You just need to hold on a little longer. Before Hina could respond, a voice shattered the silence. Hina. What are you doing out here? Both turned to see Malik standing in the garden, his face contorted with anger. Hina's blood ran cold as Malik's eyes shifted between her and Keanu. I think I asked you a question, Malik growled, stepping closer. Keanu stepped forward, his voice steady. I asked her to bring me some water. I thought it would be better than bothering your staff during the day. Malik's suspicion lingered, but he forced a smile. Of course. Hina, get back inside. As Hina fled, Malik turned to Keanu. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish, Mr. Reeves, but don't overstep. You're a guest here, and I'd hate for there to be misunderstandings. Keanu's calm expression didn't falter. I appreciate your hospitality, Malik. But I've always believed that everyone deserves respect, no matter their position in life. Malik smirked, though his eyes gleamed with warning. Careful, Reeves. You don't know how things work here. As Malik walked away, Keanu's jaw tightened. He knew the stakes had just risen, but he wasn't backing down. Back in her quarters, Hina sat trembling, Malik's anger fresh in her mind. She clutched the note, her heart filled with both fear and a sliver of hope. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a life beyond these walls. Hina's world felt like it was teetering on the edge of collapse. Every step she took within the mansion felt heavier, every glance from Malik more piercing. The note Keanu had given her was hidden beneath her mattress, and the thought of it sent both fear and hope coursing through her veins. Could she trust him? Or would this only make things worse? Malik, on the other hand, was growing increasingly suspicious. Keanu's calm demeanor masked his intentions well, but Malik wasn't a fool. He had seen the brief exchanges between Hina and Keanu and decided it was time to remind everyone who was in charge. Keanu Reeves wasn't one to act recklessly, but time was of the essence. He met with his team that morning in a quiet cafe far from the prying eyes of Malik's associates. I need solid evidence, Keanu said, his voice firm. If Malik's holding her passport and fabricating debt, we can use that against him. What have you found so far? One of his investigators nodded. We've confirmed that her passport is locked in his office safe. He's also been deducting expenses from her pay for years, food, accommodation, even the clothes she wears while working. It's all illegal, but proving it will require accessing his records. Keanu leaned back, his mind racing. What about the legal system here? Is there a way to report him anonymously? The investigator hesitated. Technically, yes. But Malik has deep connections. Without concrete evidence, the system might turn against her instead of helping her. We'll need to tread carefully. Keanu nodded. All right. I'll handle the distraction. You get what we need. That evening, Malik hosted another gathering at his mansion, this time with some local business partners. Keanu, ever the charming guest, used the opportunity to keep Malik preoccupied. You've done well for yourself, Malik, Keanu said, raising a glass of sparkling water. Tell me, what's the secret to your success? Malik, always eager to boast, launched into a detailed account of his business ventures. As he talked, Keanu subtly signaled to one of his team members, who had posed as a delivery man to gain access to the house. Meanwhile, Hina worked quietly in the background, her heart pounding. She had overheard Malik's threats earlier that day, but seeing Keanu's confidence gave her a glimmer of courage. For the first time, she felt she wasn't entirely alone. As Malik continued his monologue, Keanu steered the conversation toward workers' rights. You know, he began casually, I've been reading about labor practices here. It's fascinating how different cultures handle such things. What's your take on it? Malik stiffened, the question catching him off guard. I believe in discipline, he said carefully. A good employer provides structure. Some people need that to thrive. Keanu's smile didn't waver. Interesting perspective. Though I'd argue that respect often yields better results. The tension in the room was palpable, but Malik's pride wouldn't let him lose face in front of his guests. He laughed it off and changed the subject, but Keanu knew he had planted a seed of doubt. In the meantime, Keanu's team member located the safe in Malik's office. Using the code they had acquired from a previous reconnaissance visit, he managed to unlock it and retrieve Hina's passport and other critical documents. Just as he was slipping out, Hina walked by, carrying a tray of drinks. She froze when she saw him, her eyes widening in recognition. "Don't worry," he whispered, holding up the passport. "We're here to help." Hina nodded, her hands trembling as she continued toward the living room. The team member slipped out through the back door, but not before Malik's security cameras caught a glimpse of him. The next morning, Malik discovered the theft. His rage was volcanic as he stormed into the servants' quarters. "Hina," he roared, dragging her out in front of the other workers. "Did you have anything to do with this?" Hina shook her head vehemently. "No, sir. I don't know anything." Malik's eyes burned with fury. "Don't lie to me. If I find out you've been conspiring with anyone, you'll regret it." As he stormed away, Hina collapsed onto the floor, her body trembling. She had narrowly escaped his wrath, but for how long? That evening, Keanu received a call from his investigator. "We have everything we need," her passport, the fabricated debt records, and even footage of Malik's mistreatment. "It's enough to build a strong case." Keanu exhaled in relief. "Good. Let's move quickly. Contact the authorities and make sure Hina's safe before Malik realizes what's happening." But as Keanu hung up, his phone buzzed with a message. It was from an anonymous number. Asterisk, "You've meddled in the wrong place, Reeves. Back off, or you'll regret it." Asterisk. Keanu stared at the message, his jaw tightening. He knew the stakes had just risen. Malik wouldn't go down without a fight, and now, Keanu wasn't just fighting for Hina, he was in danger himself. The tension in the air was suffocating as Keanu Reeves sat in his hotel room, reviewing the evidence his team had gathered against Malik. The documents detailing Hina's fabricated debt, her confiscated passport, and footage of Malik's verbal abuse were damning. It was more than enough to expose him. But the anonymous threat Keanu had received lingered in his mind. Keanu was no stranger to challenges, but this time, someone else's life was at stake. He knew Malik wouldn't hesitate to retaliate if he felt cornered. The key was to move quickly and decisively. Meanwhile, Hina's anxiety grew with every passing moment. Malik's fury from the previous day still lingered, and his sudden decision to increase security around the mansion only added to her unease. She moved through her tasks in silence, careful to avoid drawing any attention. That evening, as she cleaned the kitchen, one of the other maids approached her. A young woman named Navila, who had always been kind despite their shared struggles, leaned in and whispered, "I saw someone take your passport. I think they're trying to help you." Hina's eyes widened. "Who? How do you know?" Navila glanced over her shoulder before replying. "The man who visited, the actor. I overheard his team talking about exposing Malik. They might be your way out." Hina's heart pounded. Could Keanu really be risking so much for her? The following day, Keanu's investigator delivered the evidence to the local authorities. While Dubai's laws were strict, there were organizations and legal teams willing to assist workers like Hina. The challenge was ensuring Malik couldn't use his connections to sweep everything under the rug. Keanu decided to take matters a step further. He reached out to a trusted journalist from a prominent international news outlet. "This story needs to be told," he explained. "Not just for Hina, but for countless others in her position." The journalist agreed, promising to amplify the story once the legal process began. Malik's paranoia was growing. His men informed him about Keanu's inquiries and the investigators' involvement. That night, Malik confronted Keanu directly, inviting him to dinner under the guise of hospitality. Keanu arrived, fully aware it was a trap. The mansion's atmosphere was colder than usual, with security guards stationed at every corner. Over dinner, Malik's smile was forced as he said, "I've heard you've been quite interested in my staff lately." Keanu didn't flinch. I care about people, Malik. That's just who I am. Malik's expression darkened. Be careful where your compassion leads you. This isn't Hollywood. Things work differently here. Keanu leaned forward, his calm gaze locking onto Malik's. And maybe that's exactly what needs to change. Malik's smile disappeared, but before he could respond, one of his guards whispered something in his ear. Malik excused himself, his anger barely concealed. Hina's opportunity came that same night. While Malik was distracted, Keanu's team managed to get a message to her through Navila. Asterisk, be ready at midnight. We'll get you out. Asterisk. Navila hugged Hina tightly. Go. Don't look back. You deserve a better life. When midnight arrived, Hina slipped out of the servants' quarters, her heart pounding with every step. Keanu's team waited in a discreet car parked outside the mansion's back gate. As she approached the car, a flashlight beam suddenly swept across the yard. Stop, a guard yelled. Hina froze in terror, but Keanu's driver shouted, get in. Summoning every ounce of courage, Hina sprinted toward the car. The guard shouted for reinforcements, but before they could reach her, the car sped away into the night. When Malik discovered Hina was gone, his rage was uncontrollable. He smashed a glass against the wall, barking orders to his men to find her. She's with Reeves, Malik snarled. He thinks he can humiliate me. I'll show him what happens when you cross me. Malik's threats carried weight, but Keanu was ready. He had anticipated retaliation and already secured a safe house for Hina. At the safe house, Hina sat trembling as Keanu entered the room. His calm presence immediately put her at ease. You're safe now, he said gently. But we have to be careful. Malik won't let this go easily. Hina's eyes filled with tears. Why are you doing this for me? Keanu knelt beside her, his voice steady. Because everyone deserves freedom, Hina. And because staying silent would have made me just as guilty as him. Before she could respond, Keanu's phone buzzed. It was his investigator. Reeves, there's been a leak. Malik knows we've involved the authorities. He's already trying to bribe his way out of this. Keanu's expression darkened. Then we'll have to move faster. But before he could end the call, the sound of screeching tires echoed outside the safe house. Keanu's jaw tightened as he peeked through the window. 3 black SUVs had pulled up outside, their engines rumbling ominously. They found us, Keanu said quietly. The tension in the safe house was unbearable. Hina clutched the edges of the chair, her knuckles white as she watched Keanu Reeves peer through the window. The SUVs outside were ominous, their engines rumbling like distant thunder. Keanu turned to Hina, his voice calm but urgent. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Hina's eyes widened. What are you going to do? I'll handle this, Keanu said, his tone steady. Trust me. Without waiting for her reply, he stepped out, his heart pounding but his resolve unshaken. As Keanu walked out, 3 men emerged from the SUVs, Malik leading them. His face was a mask of fury, and his voice carried a venomous edge. Keanu Reeves, Malik sneered. You've gone too far this time. Do you know who you're dealing with? Keanu stood his ground, his posture calm but unyielding. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. A man who thinks he can control lives like their property. Not anymore. Malik's men stepped forward, but Malik raised a hand to stop them. Let me guess. You think you're some kind of savior? A Hollywood hero here to fix the world? Keanu's voice was firm. I don't need to be a hero to do what's right. Malik laughed bitterly. Do you really think you can win this? I have connections, power. You're in over your head. Keanu smiled faintly. You underestimate what people can do when they're fighting for justice. Suddenly, the sound of sirens pierced the night air. Malik's face twisted in confusion as police cars pulled up, their lights flashing. Keanu's investigator had tipped off the authorities about the situation, ensuring they arrived before things could escalate further. The officers stepped out, their expressions stern. "Malik, we have evidence against you for illegal labor practices and exploitation. You're under investigation." Malik's composure cracked. "This is ridiculous. Do you know who I am?" One of the officers replied, "We know exactly who you are. And we have enough to take action." As the officers approached, Malik's men hesitated, unsure whether to act. Keanu stepped aside, watching as the law began to unravel Malik's empire. Inside the safe house, Hina paced anxiously, unaware of what was happening outside. When the door finally opened, she froze. Keanu stood there, his expression one of quiet triumph. "It's over," he said gently. "You're free." Tears streamed down Hina's face as the weight of years of oppression lifted from her shoulders. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "You don't have to," Keanu replied. "Just live the life you deserve." Over the following weeks, the story of Hina's rescue and Malik's downfall spread across media outlets. Keanu used his platform to highlight the plight of domestic workers, advocating for better protections and accountability worldwide. Hina, now free from Malik's grasp, began rebuilding her life with support from local charities and Keanu's team. She sent money to her family and enrolled in a program to learn new skills, determined to create a better future for herself and her son. Despite Malik's arrest and the exposure of his crimes, Keanu knew the battle wasn't over. For every Hina, there were countless others still trapped in similar situations. As he prepared to leave Dubai, Hina came to see him one last time. "I don't know how I can ever repay you," she said, her voice filled with emotion. Keanu smiled warmly. "You already have. Seeing you free is more than enough." Before they parted ways, Hina handed him a small, hand-woven bracelet. "This is for you. To remind you of what you've done, for me, and for so many others." Keanu slipped it onto his wrist. "Thank you, Hina. Take care of yourself." As Keanu boarded his flight, his phone buzzed with a new message. "Thank you for everything. I'll never forget what you did for me." Keanu stared out the window as the plane ascended, his resolve stronger than ever. But far away, shadows lingered. Malik's allies were watching, and they weren't ready to let this fight end quietly. What did you think of the story? Would you like to see how Keanu continues his mission? Let us know in the comments. What will happen next? Will Malik's retaliation be too much for Keanu and Hina to handle? Or will they finally expose the truth and break free from his grip? Drop your thoughts below, and stay tuned for part 2 to find out what happens next. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Also, let me know where you're watching this video from and how far this video has reached. Comment below and let me know.